A yes, a no, a straight line, a goal. Friedrich Nietzsche, Twilight of the Idols. Maxims and arrows. If you know the why in life, you can bear anything. Friedrich Nietzsche, Twilight of the Idols, Maxims and arrows. This is how the Tsar of Russia thinks. This is the mind of the Kremlin in Moscow, currently and always. Hi, my name is Mark Bernard. I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Russian, Ukrainian, even US peace, ceasefire, and going forward, geopolitical aspects of this. And I think I can reveal some explanations and answers and insight that you might not see otherwise. My qualifications is I'm an academic economist with an interest in geopolitics, which I think some people as academic economists can fulfill that check mark. But something more significant, for over 50 years, I've been a Kremlin watcher, and I think fewer people can fulfill that or both of those check marks. In the 1970s, I was reading and studying Zbigniew Brzezinski's book, Soviet Bloc Unity and Conflict. I was memorizing and studying every single Russian ruler that ever existed and the boyars, and could articulate with great verboseness everything about them and their strategy. Where other guys were playing football and dating, I was reading Russian literature. This is way back in the 70s. So that continued to grow in my knowledge and study of the Kremlin and Russia. And one thing that I discovered was there's a consistency in geopolitical posture of Russia. There's this general feeling, and to some extent it was articulated in Alexander Durgin in the fundamentals of geopolitics. But it's even beyond that Russia is different. It's unique. It's special. It has this Russian soul. It has something to offer to the world, and it feels that world domination is the card it wants to play. It goes beyond Durgin's book of even just control the peripheral countries. It's really that the world should be Russian, make the world Russian. In one essence, it was like in Last of the Mohegans, if you remember the movie, there was a quote, make the world England. But in the Russian sense, it's even to a much further and serious degree. So when people are contemplating what is the next move of Russia and Moscow, my response is they passed centuries like we pass years or days. They're almost like these immortal draconian vampires. They think in different terms. Anybody in the Kremlin now, in power, as always, has taken nothing more than a blood oath that transcends life and all that is sacred. And what transcends that is Mother Russia. Losses, whether you take casualties, and no matter how much we count them and say it's horrific, it's just a statistic for them. A yes, a no, a straight line, a goal. That is what the Tsar of Russia currently is thinking. So how does that sound to you? What does that mean in the context of these ceasefire negotiations? Does that have any relevance to what the current administration in Washington is doing or what currently is happening? Nothing has changed for the Russians. World domination. Number two, peripheral domination. Their goal is to subvert geopolitically Ukraine, make it into a Belarus. If they can't take it territorially or military conquest, they'll flip it to geopolitical instability. Then they'll change that instability into an eventually a puppet state like Belarus, and then absorption. And again, years pass for us, and it's not a big deal. It's centuries. If it takes another 50 years, 100 years. I've been studying them for over 50 years. That's what I see. That's the consistency. That will not change. How do I know that? I spent a lifetime studying it. And it's based on accrued work of other people studying it through their lifetimes. And that knowledge has been transmitted to me reading actually books, not just headlines. So the posture, if you draw a framework, a decision tree of this very temporal, limited, restricted, framework we're working on, are they going to accept, the Tsar and the Russians are upset? I don't think they think like that. Are you telling me their FSB and all their intelligence around the world, they had it already planned, they knew it, they understood it? And the Washington administration, as much as we're cheering now a populist movement, I'm not. That's a blip on the radar, a flick in the speck of eternity for them. So to answer your question, what is going to happen with this ceasefire? If they accept it, they're going to be humiliated or not they're not thinking like that. Know the why in life and you can bear anything. And the why is the greater Russia. They've taken this blood oath that transcends everything. If they accept it, they will just retool and they'll start working on getting the president of Ukraine out of there like they've wanted all along. This plays right into their hand of cards. This is what they're playing for. Then they'll start destabilizing with propaganda, okay? With newspeak, Orwellian. They'll start to work on this. Use the U.S. To them, there's not a geopolitical relationship, a warming of relationship. There's Russia number one, Washington number two. That's all there is. What about the warming of relations? They'll go for warming of relations. Yeah, they'll go for sanctions relief. They'll bend over backwards to do whatever they need to get this geopolitical back on track. They'll call for a ceasefire. They'll welcome the ceasefire as long as they can get the president of Ukraine out there, destabilize Ukraine geopolitically, and lift sanctions and warm relations with the U.S. and maybe make some deals. That's what they wanted to do all along. Is the U.S. aware of it? I don't know. I don't care. I'm beyond them. Maybe a Rubio type guy has like some sympathy for Ukraine because he initially framed it that way, and he's a pretty religious person. But I don't know. I can't say anything about any of these guys. I've seen, so many sides to them. Good cop, bad cop. They think they're playing a game. This is no game. Russia is not playing a game. They think they're playing poker or cards this is no game. This is a blood oath that transcends everything for Russian world domination. I mentioned Sergio Poznad 6. Radar shows or satellite shows that's expanding very rapidly. We don't know what's in their playbook. So when they accept the ceasefire, it doesn't mean anything. It just means they're retooling on a strategy B. If they reject the ceasefire, okay, it doesn't mean anything. It means that they're continuing military pressure and then continuing their ultimate goal of geopolitical destabilization of Ukraine. That's it. That was always their goal. And it's military adventurism or through geopolitical. Now I think they've upped their game with their ability to influence propaganda in this post-truth world. So what about another option? What if there was a ceasefire? What's their long-term? They will extend that negotiation process out. They will ask for maximum, in the Soviet tradition, maximum demands. And maybe there will be some back and forth between the U.S. and the U.S. will think is negotiating tough. It's not negotiating tough. The Russians already know this. They've had it all planned. They had the information. They knew what's going on. They will get something out of it. They will get this. They already have basically sanctions implicitly starting to be lifted from the U.S. by not monitoring it. The U.S. may throw Ukraine a bone or two, but they've never looked in the camera, like I say, and said, Moscow is ruled by a despot who has criminally invaded a free and transparent democratic country trying to create the world a better place, that country of Ukraine, and Russia is making it worse for us all. The U.S. has never taken that stance, and until the U.S., I hear this articulated from the top, I don't believe it. A yes, a no, a straight line, a goal. The goal is the geopolitical destabilization of Ukraine. And meeting in Saudi Arabia, that's not a neutral country. The Saudis are aligned. They don't restrict Russia, and the Saudis are aligned with the U.S. So the U.S.-Saudi, Moscow alliance is nothing, to write home about. It seems like a peace and it seems like a victory coming for Ukraine. And I'm going to remain hopeful because I have confidence in Ukraine and the intelligence and the commitment to democracy and freedom of these people. But I also, on the other side, showing the pros and cons, remain skeptical because I know what they're playing against. They're playing against somebody who counts casualties in millions and millions as nothing but a statistic. Somebody that counts years passing as we may feel centuries, etc. It doesn't matter to them. And if it's not the current czar, somebody else they'll reshuffle, they'll put another face on, pretend a little bit here. And anything they write or say on paper has been demonstrated through history to be untrue and not trustworthy. Now, the Russian people, I'm not making a comment on the Russian people, because we all add up to 100%. I'm talking about the despotic structure and this ideology that rules Russia. Despotism were flashes in the pan in Europe for a while, compared to the Russian continuous from beginning to ultimate end. They will expand and geopolitically destabilize the world. So the ceasefire, what is going to happen with the ceasefire? My claim is it doesn't matter because Russia is not going to stop. And the Tsar of Russia is not going to say, oh, I'm sorry, I learned my lesson. I'm different now. He's just going to throw it out there, reel in as many suckers as he can find, chew them up and spit them out. So let that be a cautionary tale. I remain optimistic, and I do believe light wins over darkness. And this is why I need, through my experience of over 50 years of watching and studying the Kremlin, few people can claim that. And I think very few in Washington, if any, can claim that. This is my message to you. Read Friedrich Nietzsche, juxtaposition it on top of the Tsar of Russia. Read Alexander Durgin, enrich it with that, and you've got an ideology that means Russia to the end. It's us that is going to define what to the end means. My name is Mark Biernot. I'm a monetary economist. Have a beautiful day. Thank you very much.